Alhamdulillah. I have my tree too. SubhanAllah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina wa Habibina Shafi'ina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi tayyibin tahirin. Talking about books, I have this beautiful book, Misquoting Muhammad, The Challenge and Choices of Interpreting the Prophet's Legacy. This is by Karen Armstrong and Jonathan Brown, yes. Yeah, by Jonathan Brown, but she's the one who introduced it. Actually, it was recommended by her. So, Misquoting Muhammad by Jonathan Brown is a good book. I went through it for people who are into academics, and it talks about the ahadith, etc. So the book that Sidi Sami was talking about, say it's not a book by Tayyib Shuwairif, it's a selection of hadith by Tayyib Shuwairif. So it's not, so you cannot say that Tayyib Shuwairif was the author of the book. It's like Bukhari was not the author of his Sahih, and the Nawawi is not the author of Al-Arba'in Nawawiyya. So it is selection of ahadith, selection of quotes. What is the hadith? The ahadith are quotes. It's not like, also some people they call them teachings. They are quotes. The hadith is a quote. You see, today like you go on Facebook and you just see the photo of Jonathan Brown or Karen Armstrong or Hamza Yusuf, and you say just one sentence, okay, or quote from Gandhi, be the change you want to see, like that. Be the change you want to see in the world. Okay. Yeah. The quote tells me something about the teaching of Gandhi. Maybe if it is very strong quote, and if the one who was quoting Gandhi was smart and was so connected to the true message of Gandhi, he would basically quote the heart of his message. Maybe from that same discourse, when he said that, I don't know. Maybe some people know. Maybe some very faithful disciples of Gandhi actually remember what was he. Actually, it's not difficult to remember what Gandhi was putting, what clothes he was putting on. So they were always the same, what color. But they would remember, for example, what sandals. You should change sandals. You did not have the same sandals every day. Okay, so they would remember also the place and the environment and the birds that were there. They would remember. So the level of connection. So the legacy of the Prophet is actually does not tell us about the Prophet himself. It actually tells us more about the people who were around him. How connected, how deeply connected they were to his message, and what kind of connection they had. So there is an imbalance between the two sides. Is there a reason why? Can you please, you are extremists there, can you come to the middle, please? So I really want to see the faces of people I'm teaching. Just come like more like this. I just feel like I'm talking to the trees and people are just...
See, they're better listeners sometimes. They're better listeners sometimes.
They are all the time better listeners. Alhamdulillah. So it tells us about the quality of people and how connected are these people to the message of that Prophet and to the legacy of that Prophet. Maybe if you had someone else attending that same lecture or that same discourse that Gandhi gave, that very deep discourse that Gandhi gave, and in it he said, be the change you want to see around you. Maybe he said, actually the tea is sweet. This tea is sweet. It's good to drink sweet tea. And one of the companions of Gandhi, one of the disciples or one of the attendees of the discourse just has picked that quote, and khalas. All what he took from that teaching is, it's good to drink sweet tea. Maybe a lover was there, and he's so into imitating Gandhi in everything he does. Just he saw like Gandhi that day, he actually did not move his hand for 15 minutes or something like that. And he would quote that. So that's how we have these things. After that, now talking about a Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or about Sayyidina Aissa before him, etc. People will take from these quotes. So we don't have classes or teachings or books written by these people. We have quotes. We have quotes. We have thousands and millions of quotes of these people, and all of them are oral. And they started like that. The first generation are generation of illuminated people, or generation of lovers, a generation of authentic people, etc. After that, slowly things they get misinterpreted necessarily and inevitably. That's why one of the last things that the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad ﷺ, one of the last quotes attributed to him, ﷺ, right before he passed away, he said, "Be careful the one who lies, the one who misquotes me, the one who lies about me, the one who uses my مرحبا سيدي كيف حالكم سيدي عمر مرحبا." So the one who misuses me, the one who misquotes me, the one who lies, who says that I said something while I did not say it, I never said it, knowing purposefully, he knows that he's just using my name just to build an authority or something like that, he will let him, he will perish he will be punished in hell. That's what he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, or according to this quote. So misquoting, giving wrong interpretation, and manipulating the quotes is a human bad art. We are an arts building. I mean, magic is a kind of art too. It's one of the bad arts. Okay, cutting trees is an art. There is an art how to cut a tree. There is an art to kill. There is an art or torture. Actually, there is an art. They used to teach the art of torturing, the art of extracting the truth. That's the name of it. And they used to teach it in art buildings, in Harvard University. Until 1970 something, in a Harvard University, there was a whole department and there was a whole chapter called the art of extracting, how to torture people in order to, the art of interrogating people. It was an art. A'udhu billah. But that's the definition of it's a craft, it's not an art. على كل حال. Some people, they focused on the legal aspect of the Prophet's legacy. Some people, they focused on the spiritual aspect of a Prophet's legacy. Some people, so the book that Sami was referring to is a collection by Tayyib Shwirif, translated to French. Before it, we had actually one of the biggest and the best collections it's used to call the 101 Pearls from the Quran by Muhammad ibn Arabi. 101 Pearls and by Muhammad ibn Arabi. فصوص الحكم. The first, we have two فصوص الحكم. So the true فصوص of Muhammad ibn Arabi, it was book of hadith. He just took that's the first فصوص. There are two فصوص حكم. There is one that it is for sure for Muhammad ibn Arabi, and there is one that was attributed after that to Muhammad ibn Arabi, and we are not even sure if he was the author or not. There is a whole debate about it. So the true فصوص حكم is quotes. A hadith is exactly spiritual teachings, exactly the book that you referred to, spiritual teachings by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we have al-arba'in fi al-tasawwuf, al-arba'in fi al-akhlaq. And you find in all the books of, for example, Imam al-Ghazali, a whole chapter talking about that. You find Ibn al-Mubarak while before in his book called Al-Raqa'iq, في الزهد والرقائق, etc. So they have their spiritual teachings according to their tastes, etc. على كل حال. So this is a book for those who, I think it was mentioned, it was referred by you, right? You were the one who referred. Yeah. So Sayyidi Umar Udaybat gave us an advice, and they went through it هكذا quickly. It arrived last week. So I went through it quickly. It took 6 months to, actually more, 8 months to arrive. But subhanallah, and Ajib, so and his friend of Sayyid Naqib al-Attas, and Sayyid Naqib al-Attas is one of our friends, mashallah, and subhanallah, I opened the page on the stunning city of Hajrain in Hadramaut Valley of Yemen. Ajib. From where the Attas and the shajara of Ba'alawi. I don't know why. I did not know that this is no, it's a good book and talks about modern aspects and how and people like Najah Ibrahim and Yasser Barhami and the Salafis, etc. And Ali Jum'ah responses to them, and it's tells you a lot about the deformation of the subhanallah. And this Ajib, they have Sanad organization, Ilmu and Word, Jindarami, they are called Sanad. Here you are. Ajib, subhanallah. Here you are. Yeah. So yeah, if you want, I bought 2 copies. One of them is to be sold or to be given. One of them is mine. Hafizakumullah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let us agree that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the unseen and is the metaphysical, and there is nothing except God that could be actually be truly, absolutely, and ultimately and definitely unseen or metaphysical except God subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because angels are not unseen for us, but they are actually seen to other angels. And some people, they see angels. They do not see them in the angelic form, but they see them, they manifest to them in a form or another. Other spirits are unseen for common human beings, but they are seen for each other, and they are seen for certain human beings, and they would manifest in an intelligible form to these human beings, etc. Waves are unseen for humans, but we have manifestation of these waves, and we know that waves exist. That's why you can make a phone call. So, al-ghayb al-mutlaq huwa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The true ghayb, the absolute ghayb, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen to teach this human being, and has elected this human being, and made him mumayyaz, made him special in the way he can communicate and the level he can communicate with the divine. The way the human being communicates with the divine is more special than the way the tree communicates with the divine. And the depth of the depth of the communication that the human being could have with the divine is more special than the depth, is deeper, is higher, is bigger, is greater than the depth of the communication that any other creation could have with the divine, including angels themselves. This is how prophets taught us. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. A verse in the Quran, and we have honored the children of Adam, and we carried them in the bar, we carried them on the ground. We carried them on the land, and we carried them on the sea. On the sea. That would be a very literalist tafsir of the verse. And the Sufi scholars, they came to another meaning that does not exclude the first layer of meanings. And they say, and we have honored the children of Adam, and we have elevated them in the realm of physical knowledge, al-barr, and we have also elevated them in the realm of metaphysical knowledge, al-bahr. There is ilm al-barr and ilm al-bahr. So always the symbol of barr, the symbol of land is the sharia, or the physical knowledge. And the symbol of bahr is the metaphysical, is the unseen, is the far, is the wide, is the unlimited. There is symbolism in that. And we have honored the children of Adam, and we have elevated their potential, and we have made their potential higher than the rest of the creation in the bar, in the ulum al-barriya, as well as in the ulum al-bahriyya. In the Sufi dictionary, al-ulum al-barriya means any physical knowledge, including the sharia, including how to make the prayer, how to make salat. العلوم البحرية هي التي تبحر بها is a reference or is a symbol of the metaphysical knowledge, and that's the knowledge of gratitude, the knowledge of patience, the knowledge of generosity, the knowledge of giving, the knowledge of beauty, the knowledge of communicating with God.
I was going to say beauty.
نعم. Spirituality, you know, البحر. الغيب والشهادة، حملناهم في الغيب والشهادة، كرمناهم ورفعنا مقامهم في الغيب والشهادة. في عالم الغيب وفي عالم الشهادة كرمنا مقامهم، أعلينا مقامهم. We have elevated their status in the world of shahada, in the world of the witnessed, the tangible, the witnessed by eyes, by physical eyes world. And we have also elevated their status and honored them in the world of al-ghayb, unwitnessed world. Alhamdulillah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His wisdom has chosen in this way to communicate with the human beings. He elects prophets and messengers, and He teaches them, and He reveals secrets to them, and He makes their hearts burn with love and yearning and longing for Him, and He opens for them the doors of the unseen, and He teaches them knowledge, and He sends them to their tribes, their nations, their people, their families, or the world, with the mission of bringing them from darknesses to the light, from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, from the darkness of i'rad anillah, from the darkness of turning away from God, to the light of accepting, inviting and welcoming and accepting and celebrating God in one's life. That's the light. First of all, you have to invite Him. You have to miss Him, first of all. You have to miss Him in your life. And after you miss Him, you have to invite Him. And after inviting Him, when He manifests Himself, you have to accept, welcome, and celebrate, and honor that presence through gratitude and devotion. So the prophets are the artists to teach us that. And this is the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, exalted be He, that's the meaning of subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He said, may His name and His praises be celebrated. He says clearly that had we wanted to, we could have revealed to each human being. But His wisdom was to manifest Himself to certain human beings, and He wants the human being to work like that. Like in the physical realm, also in the spiritual realm, it's the same. Allah does not make everyone a doctor, does not make everyone an engineer, does not make everyone a teacher, but He makes some people teachers to teach others, and that's how knowledge is transmitted. He makes some people doctors to heal others, and that's how good health is transmitted. And He makes some people engineers to build for others or to design for others, etc. And that's how this human legacy is preserved. وهكذا. The best of the creation are those who deal with the divine and teach others how to deal with the divine. The best of arts is the art of dealing with the divine. We are an arts building, and I don't think there is one class called dealing with the divine. Though, willingly or unwillingly, the human is not doing anything but dealing with the divine. Wanting it or not wanting it. The one who designed this beautiful room and the girl who was putting that poster and making sure that it doesn't, or these curtains, I don't even know what it is. It's so beautiful. It's just really, God bless her. I know it is a girl because boys, they cannot do something different. It must be. Willingly or unwillingly, she dealt with the divine. Yeah? Choosing that green, beautiful green color like the Rawda one, etc. It's really, they dealt with the divine, doing it with ihsan, doing it with beauty. They were dealing with one of the qualities of God, which is perfection, completeness, beauty. All these are qualities and attributes of God, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, dealing with the divine with our conscious.
We are consciously.
Huh?
Consciously.
With our conscious, right?
With our consciousness.
With our consciousness. Barakallahu feekum. Dealing with the divine with our consciousness and consciously is another level. It's another level. That's the willingly. That's the looking for it. That's wanting it. That's desiring it. That's when the yearning and longing and burning inside you is working, and then the heart engaged the mind, and the mind now, and the heart engaged the consciousness, and now the consciousness is looking for God. I want to touch God. I want to give God a hug. I want to kiss the forehead of my Lord. I want to wash the feet of my Lord. That's what a child is looking for. And that's what a human being is looking for. Touching God, not physically, you will never be able to, but the child within you has to look for that and has to search for that and has to be burning and yearning and longing for that and missing that. Because spiritually speaking, well, that's your potential. Is to be with God, to see God, to witness God, and deeper again. Dealing with the divine when the heart, when a burning heart engages a sound intellect, expect the best piece of art. When a burning, loving heart engages a sound intellect, expect the best piece of art. And dealing with the divine like that will be the best piece of art. And those who dealt with the divine, like Imam al-Ghazali, and he was a human being, was not a prophet. He was writing his book, The Alchemy of Happiness. One night, and he had this, his wooden pen, Huh?
Tip.
And he dripped it in the ink. And as he was thinking, a drop of that ink came on his paper. And before moving to scratch it or wipe it, a thirsty fly came and started drinking. He kept looking and waiting for her. And this is another art of dealing with the divine when you call flies her, not it. He kept waiting for her until she finished drinking, and then he wiped the paper and continued his book. He was seen in a dream years after that, and they told him, which one of your actions that weighed the most on the scale, on the divine scale? He said, one night I was writing that book. It's not the introduction of the book, and actually just the introduction of the book of the Alchemy of Happiness. The fourth or third session, I'm still in the introduction, explaining it, third in French. I'm in the third session, and I'm still in the 7th line of the introduction. It is something, just the introduction, just the praises that he sends in the beginning of the book. Not that action that weighed the most, but the action that weighs the most is actually when he waited for the fly to finish drinking and dealing with the divine when you are really awakened and you see things and you see the divine everywhere. So prophets are the best people, and after them are as-siddiqeen, and they are the best artists. And that's the most noble art. That's the most noble art. The art of carpentry, the art of making phones, the art of healing people, the art of planting trees, the art of beautiful arts, but the art of dealing with the divine, engaging a sound intellect by a burning or through a burning heart to deal with God is the highest, is the best art. And that's why it brings the best fruits, and that's why it has the biggest number of fans. And when we talk about fans, yes, some fans become fanatic. But the art that is drawing the biggest number of fans is the art of dealing with the divine at any time. Through the times, through the ages, that was the art. Yet, only few of these fans actually have the art of listening to that art and dealing with that art, again, with a loving heart, engaging a sound intellect and listening to wisdom, so they could actually benefit from it, or benefit from it. The Prophets alayhim salatullahi wasalam are the best of the creation. They have lived the best life, and this is just by the mantaq, because we said that's the most noble art. Just logically, let alone the text telling us that they were. And when we see how people are so driven, sometimes just, and I was reading about Sayyidina Aissa alayhi salam. Sayyidina Aissa, they call him Jesus alayhi salam, and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. And I was comparing, and there is big similarity between both of them. Ali is the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, apostle, and he has a kind of Isawi personality. And both of them ended up being worshipped. And both of them, they have people who love them until they became crazy, and they have people who hate them until they became crazy. And seriously, I remember myself said, no wonder. No wonder people will worship you. I was reading about Ali. I said, no wonder people will end up worshiping you. No wonder some people will end up really worshiping you. And no wonder some people will end up really hating you. Really hating you. The manifestation of the haqq, the manifestation of beauty, the manifestation of truth, the manifestation of completeness through these people is so had.
Sharp.
It's so sharp. Yet through the prophets, it was, through Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was, the edges were more rounded.
Balanced.
Yet he was higher than Ali in his spiritual level, much higher. There's no comparison. But no one ended up prostrating to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and worshipping Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but many people ended up worshipping Ali and thinking that he is God. Something really about these people that drives you crazy, because they are so, so beautiful and so eccentric in the good meaning, in the positive meaning of being eccentric. They are not. So the prophets are the best of creation and the most beautiful creation, and they have the biggest science and the most beautiful art. And they had the soundest intellect, and they had the most beautiful hearts, and they were the people who loved God the most, yearned for Him the most, longed for His meeting the most, and the reaction between their heart and the intellect and the communication between their hearts and intellects was the best. And their heart engaged their soul or their memory or their secret with God or their memory with God engaged their heart, and their heart engaged their intellect, and their intellect engaged their intelligence, and their intelligence engaged all of them, every single cell in them, and more than that, and people around them. Like the sun. Actually, that's the literal meaning of Aissa. Means the sun. Because it's, that's the literal meaning of Aissa, Ash-Shams. The sun. Ala kulli hal. Like the sun, it will engage. Not only it's beautiful in itself, it's burning in itself, but it's also giving life to trees and giving life to other sources of light. وهكذا. We have to have this in mind when we talk about a prophet. When we talk about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have to, if we have been exposed to the biography of other prophets before him, we have to expect at least the same things, at least the same level. A prophet is a prophet. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we reached the point in talking about his blessed and beautiful life and the happiest life, yet the most difficult one and the most challenging one. We reached the point when he got married to Khadija alayha salam, and that was when he was 25. We said after marriage, the beauty within him, the beauty that God has treasured in his heart, and the hearts of people are the treasures of wisdom. As Imam Ghazali tells us in the Alchemy of Happiness in his introduction, he tells us that the wisdom of God is in treasures and wisdom. What is wisdom? He calls wisdom alchemy of happiness. Wisdom is what makes the human being happy. That's hikmah, that's wisdom. Otherwise, it's not wisdom. If it doesn't make you happy, it's not wisdom. If it doesn't make you complete, fulfilled, it's not wisdom. He said the alchemy of happiness, like the physical alchemy will be in the treasures of kings, the alchemy of happiness will be in the treasures of God. And the treasures of God are جواهر الملائكة, the hearts of angels and the essences of angels in the heaven, as well as the hearts of prophets and saints on earth. That beauty in his heart, alayhi salatu wasalam, started manifesting, and we saw how it was manifesting when he was a child. And we saw how it was manifested as soon as he was born, and even before he was born, through his fathers and grandfathers, etc. We saw how he was as a child. Now, at 25, he got married, and Khadija alayhi salam telling us that he was the best of husbands, the best of friends, the best of allies. And Fatima alayhi salam is telling us that he was the best of fathers. Zainab, Kulthum, Ruqayya agreeing that he was the best of fathers. Zayd is a testimony that came from abroad, a kidnapped child that was kidnapped from his parents and sold as a slave in Mecca, ended up in the house of Khadija bint Khuwaylid. When she saw his beautiful character and his shyness and his beautiful education, because he was kidnapped from a noble family, so he received that beautiful education, and he was kidnapped from a monotheist family. They were Christians. The parents of Zayd bin Haritha, they were Christians and they were monotheists. They were these Nazarenes, Christians, the Christians of Arabia. They were not Catholic. They were not Protestants, absolutely. They were not even Orthodox at that time. So they were Nazarenes. They were what we call Unitarists. These were the Christians of Arabia. So for them, Jesus was a messenger of God, was a prophet of God, was not God or the Son of God in that interpretation. And they believe that all prophets are complete and unique and exempted from criminality and faults and error. Not like other Christians would abase the rest of the prophets to give a proof that any human being is sinner, but Aissa did not sin, so Aissa, then, that's the logic, then Aissa is God. Because he never sinned, then he must be something superhuman. No. So the Unitarists and people Muwahhideen, and they focused on, and even among them, and that's the case actually, still, that is still the case for 99% of Christians, the common people. A human being would not want to quarrel about God. That's the last thing that he wants to do. People, they just want to become better people. You find even people who are bombarded with dogmas, esoteric dogma or Trinitarian dogma or communist dogma or democratic dogma or any kind of religion. You are hearing me? Any kind of religion. Like democracy is one of the modern religions. Some people are approaching it as a religion, as a faith. So it is a taboo to speak about it, to speak against it. So then it is religion. And when it became, that's why when it becomes so sacred, so they send it high, they throw it on the sky, so then we can live without it, and we keep just talking about it. Same phenomena. People did the same with God. So, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, people, they just will take from any religion that will be given to them, they will just, naturally speaking, they will esquiver, they will avoid these quarrels. Your mom is Christian or was Christian, and Son of God, God himself. That's just, it's like a stat. Why do you go to church, ma'am? Yeah, because they are telling me to be good to your neighbor. And I want to be good to my neighbor. They are telling me to be good to people. Absolutely. And smart people will take from any religion what makes them better people. So the family of Zayd bin Haritha were a family of monotheists, and they took these values and they educated their child. So that child was hayi, had shyness, had beauty. When Khadija alayha salam saw him, the first week of her, after dealing with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in business, he reminded her of him. So Hajib, and subhanAllah, look at the secret. This is before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam became a prophet, or knew that he was a prophet, or was sent as a prophet. And before he met Zayd, and before Zayd became his companion, and there was already a link and a connection between them. When the eyes of Khadija fell on Zayd, she said, there is something about, reminds me about Muhammad here. Subhanallah, Hajib, there is something here. The beauty of character, the shyness. But he did not want to lie about his age in some narrations. He was a slave. She wanted to buy him. Usually slaves would, when they want to be sold to good people, they would lie. Can you do that? Yes, I can do that, because they want to be sold. The worst stage, the worst period for a slave is to be in the market. It's like the day of judgment. Get me to hell, get me to paradise, but just end this now. Take me out of here. Every slave, the prayer of a slave is to be sold. God, send me a buyer. But the good slave will say, God, send me a good buyer. And when the good buyer manifests himself to a slave, so Zayd, when he saw Khadija, and she was different than the other people of Quraysh. And we spoke about Khadija. And all the slaves there desired to be bought by Khadija. Definitely she's not going to be the harsh woman. Definitely she's not going to be the... If there will be any chance for them to become free again, she will be the lady with the noble heart that will actually set them free or do something. وهكذا. And slaves, they know. Like people today, they know bosses. And they know teachers. Do you want to be the teacher? How he marks, etc. So slave is okay. Oh, this is a good woman. Lucky is the one who's going to be her slave. And they started lying. How old are you? I'm 19. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And in an organic society, seriously, you cannot make the difference between 13 and 25. Still, some people who cannot. I mean, looking at my sister, always when I look at her face, I think she's 19 or something like that. And she told me yesterday that she's 36. Seriously? Ajib. And yeah, so people will want to, I'm strong, I can do this, etc. Just impatient to be sold. He did not lie to Khadija. He told her, I'm actually this young. Your CV, Zayd, do you know how to cook? I never cooked. Do you know how to clean? I never cleaned. Do you know how to milk goats? I never did that. What brought you here? Some people kidnapped me and I'm here. Do you want me to be your owner? Yes, people, they said good things about you. Are you going to be a very good assistant to me? I'm not sure. I wish, if you teach me, if you give me some time. It reminded her of the interview she had with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Had you been to business in caravans? Have you sold? Have you made any transactions? Do you want to take my caravan? Yes. Can you promise me that I will get like the same gain I'm getting every year? No. Pray for me. I'm not going to steal your money. I will do my best. Teach me. I will try my best to learn. Ajib. Something in Zayd reminded her of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And she wanted to make him a gift for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ajib, look at the connections, look at le tissu du divin, comment il est en train d'être entrelacé entre les mains du destin. How can you
The threads of the divine are
Ajib, how the threads are being intertwined by the hand of the divine to make this carpet of the destiny. Ajib. Ajib. If you think that your relationship with your wife or with your husband started the day you met her in the marketplace, you are wrong. If you think that you being in this classroom now started when you saw the email or the post about this halaqa, you are wrong. That's when we came to know about what's going on with us. But our destiny is being, the wires and the threads of our destiny have been, like the phone. The phone only turns on, khalas, after everything was made about it. And that's not when he was born. But Siri, or what's her name? Siri will tell you, I'm born now, I'm yours. This is my first interaction with a human being. That's not true. There was a whole study made upon me to make you, to please me. And then you came into the market and somehow I was driven to you and khalas, I find you now in my hand. وهكذا. Subhanallah, ajaib. And that's why I'm talking about this. Okay, I want to talk about the Prophet ﷺ. Why would we waste our time to talk about a human? Blasphemous, shocking. Why do we want to talk about prophets? Why do we want to talk about the life of any human being? Why do I celebrate my anniversary or my birthday if it does not remind me of God? What value would that have? And we said that the biography of prophets is the best story ever. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it in the Quran أحسن القصص. And then he starts speaking about this story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Because you see the lutf of the divine more plus évident, more evident, more clear. Subhanallah. Because they have zero resistance and they understand. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it clear, subhanallah. Ajib, we saw that with Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His dad passed in Medina and was buried in a place. Many years later, his camel would go and just sit in that same place, just next to the grave of his father. He never knew it. He discovered it after. How his mother took him few months before she passed away. Had she not taken him, he wouldn't have known his people. She had taken him to visit his people few months before she passed away. And that's it. She fulfilled her thing. And as soon as she introduced him to the Medinian and Medina Najjar people, and they fell in love with him and he fell in love with them, etc. Khalas, these will be your ansar, okay? Bismillah. Done. Come now. She dies. Ajib. And Ayman is there. Baraka, Habashiyah is there to take the baby back to Mecca. And subhanallah, the qadr of the divine. How things are. When we read the biography of Prophet, Because it is a complete story too. Why the stories of prophets are the best stories? Because they are complete stories. Because my story and your story, we cannot guarantee that we are going to complete them. Yet the plan of the divine is complete. But are we going to continue or finish writing our story? You understand? Are we going to achieve our full potential? You have a story made by God for you. You have a plan A. And there is a plan B. There is a plan Allah for you. And that's the A plus. Are we going to reach that A plus? Or at least A? Or at least A minus? Or we are going to fall on the B, C, D, E. Wal-'iyadhu billah. But the plan of God is, you have a perfect potential, but people, they end up not opening their book. You have a perfect plan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the chapters of your life, and they are well determined. You have to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Just go and open that page and write something in it. And communicate with the information, and everything is there. Like the Arabic exercises I gave you. Everything is there. Just follow the instructions, do it. Very, very easy. And that's life. Yet many human beings decide to never open their book. And they think because they did not open it, they are not writing anything. Well, your devil is. All your actions that you are doing are actually that incompleteness and this lack of fulfillment is wal-'iyadhu billah, another negative kind of writing that will overwhelm that book and that will kill that book forever. So many people are, their life is, what could you learn from their life? As a generation, we suffer today. Our biggest problem that we do not have a generation before us. We don't have enough complete, accomplished people in the generation before us. We look at our fathers. I remember myself, writing a poem at the age of 14 and said, "Oh, fathers, where have you been? Where are you? Where have you been? Where are you? Where have you passed? Where have you gone? Vous êtes passé où? Where have you gone? What is the legacy? Il est où le flambeau? I'm looking everywhere for the torch. Where is it?" Ajib, subhanallah. We don't have enough accomplished people to admire, so they can stir that desire in our hearts, and that desire will ignite the shawq and the burning of longing and yearning for the divine, and that will, subhanallah. So the whole process of, you remember that reaction, burning heart, déclencher, engaging sound intellect, the whole reaction doesn't start for the majority of people today, because we don't have the qadih. We don't have the first spark, the sparkers. We need sparkers. We need accomplished people in front of us. When you see them, when you look at their faces, when you look at them, say, yes, I want to become like this. That's our problem today. We have lots of unfinished businesses and uncompleted stories. Our libraries are overwhelmed with uncompleted books, and that's what they teach you, by the way, in academia. You read the whole piece of PhD and you end up having ADHD by the end of reading it, because he's saying everything to say nothing. What do you want to tell me finally? What is your message? What is your risala? Seriously. And that's why students of PhD, they end up depressed. Because that's what they are reading. They are exposed to unfinished narratives, unfinished discourses, unfinished attempts to reach the truth. The most complete messages are the messages of prophets. Alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, "Utitu jawami al-kalim." It's done. It's with signature after that. Like a piece of art with its signature, just Enjoy. Here. Like when you go to, not Tim Horton, like when you go to David's Tea, for example, or something, هكذا more. What do you have here? Bridgehead. Or Lotus, and you get something, and then you have it's signed. Here you are. Bismillah. Complete. Enjoy. Seriously. Un chef-d'œuvre. Ah, c'est pas coup de maître, on appelle ça quoi? De maître? Ah, pièce de maître. Piece of masterpiece. Ah, masterpiece. Their speeches were masterpieces. You listen to Sayyidina Aissa alayhi salam, some of his things that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam could not help but just learned it, and he just conveyed it as such, and he said, my brother Aissa used to say, and that was one of his most often quotes, that most used quotes. My brother Aissa said one day to his apostles, don't look at others as if you were their lords, but keep looking at yourselves as if you were their slaves. And he will continue to give you what makes you actually get that sickness of looking for your rights before studying your responsibilities. ولا تكثروا الكلام بغير ذكر الله فتقسو قلوبكم والقلب القاسي بعيد عن الله ولكن لا تشعرون. الله أكبر. And do not talk much. Do not waste your speech in something other than remembrance of God, or in something other than what would remind you of God or remind others of God. Because if you will keep doing so, your hearts will become hard. And the hard heart is cut and far from God, yet he doesn't feel it. صدق رسول الله. صدق عيسى بن مريم عليه السلام. What a masterpiece. What a beauty. What a عظمة. What a majesty.